Hey everyone! So today I'm here to review the OFRA long-lasting liquid lipsticks. They individually retail for $19.90 US. They contain 0.28 ounces of product and they're currently available in over 40 shades. They are said to be a creamy, moisturizing, long-lasting matte lipstick with full lip color that does not feather. The packaging is a round gloss style tube with a standard doe foot applicator. They have a very subtle creme brulee scent to them that can be noticed on initial application, but it does fade very quickly and it can never be tasted. The formula itself is a whipped mousse-like consistency that does feel very lightweight and comfortable on the lips. With these particular liquid lipsticks, I found that it is going to be best to shake them before use just to ensure that the formula is mixed well and that they will be pigmented. During testing these lipsticks, I did notice that if I didn't shake them, they did tend to apply more sheer or watered down, so to speak. They were less pigmented and more prone to applying streaky and uneven, so make sure that you shake these before using. It's really not that big of a deal. These liquid lipsticks are matte and they do dry down to a degree, however they do remain slightly transferable, unlike your more typical liquid to matte or ultra matte drying liquid lipsticks. These ones never cling to your lips or feel drying. Also, due to the fact that they never completely fully dry down and set, I found that it is a much more forgiving formula for drier lips. The color never accentuates any drier areas or imperfections. Like I said, the product can lightly transfer throughout wear, especially once it's first applied, but these are a longer lasting formula as they typically wear between 6 to 10 hours. Atlantic City is a brightened medium cherry red with warm undertones and a mostly matte finish. This shade had excellent opaque, even pigmentation that applied very smoothly and never felt drying. For being a bolder shade, I found it very easy to create crisp edges and I never experienced any feathering or bleeding with this specific shade. Atlantic City wore well for 8.5 hours before fading and left behind a stain. In comparison, ColourPop's London Fog was cooler and more pink. Kat Von D's Outlaw was warmer and more orange-toned. The Sephora collection Always Red was warmer and more orange-toned. And Stila's Fiery was slightly darker and more deepened. The Bronx is a dark black with neutral to cool undertones and a mostly matte finish. I was so excited to try out another black lipstick because most of the time black lipsticks don't perform like you want them to. But in all honesty, this is the most opaque, best performing black that I have tried. It had rich color payoff and had smooth, even coverage during application. At times it could appear slightly lighter around the edges, but a very thin second layer or minor touch-ups easily corrected any transparency or sheerness. The Bronx wore well for 8 hours and never felt drying. In comparison, MAC's Hautecore was warmer and less opaque. Kat Von D's Witches was cooler and more matte. Kat Von D's NaYeon was less opaque and metallic. And Kat Von D's Slayer was warmer and less opaque. Dupes is a light to medium nude beige with neutral undertones and a mostly matte finish. It applied smoothly, evenly, and had great opaque pigmentation. I noticed that it had very minor issues with falling into lip lines during wear like you typically get from lighter natured shades, but it never caused the color to look uneven or streaky, and it never enhanced dryness or imperfections. Dupes wore well for 7.5 hours before fading and never felt drying. In comparison, ColourPop's Magic Wand was darker, warmer, and more peach. Kat Von D's Noble was lighter, warmer, and more peach. NYX's Flawless was warmer and more beige. And the Too Faced Melted Sugar was lighter, warmer, and more pink. Havana Nights is a medium to dark ruby red with warm undertones and a mostly matte finish. This shade applied smoothly, evenly, and had great color payoff. I found that it did have a slight translucency to it, which did cause it to look a little bit darker in areas, but it wasn't really noticeable unless you were looking at it at a close inspection like you were applying it or you were really looking for it. Havana Nights lasted 8.5 hours and left behind a stain. In comparison, ColourPop's Avenue was lighter, brighter, and warmer. Kat Von D's Nosferatu was brighter and warmer. And MAC's Studded Kiss was lighter and slightly more berry toned. Honolulu is a medium to dark reddish brown with neutral to cool undertones and a slightly metallic finish. This was honestly more of an interesting shade to work with. It had slightly more slip due to that metallic finish, but the consistency overall felt somewhat thicker and more dry compared to the other shades. Regardless, it still applied smoothly, had even coverage, and never felt drying. Honolulu wore well for 8 hours and left behind a stain. In comparison, ColourPop's Prim was brighter, warmer, and more red. Kat Von D's Damned was darker, more blackened and red. MAC's Antique Velvet was similar, but a touch warmer and less metallic. And the Too Faced Melted Chocolate Cherries was lighter, warmer, and more red. Mina is medium to dark berry red with cool undertones and a mostly matte finish. Once again, this was another shade that had a slight translucency to it, but it was really only noticeable if you were studying the lips and really looking for it. It had opaque color coverage otherwise and applied very smoothly. I had no problems with it feathering or bleeding, and it didn't feel drying throughout wear. Mina lasted 8 hours and left behind a stain. In comparison, Kat Von D's Exorcism was darker and more plum. MAC's Dark Side was lighter and cooler, and the Sephora collection Blackberry Sorbet was lighter, warmer, and more magenta. Mocha is a medium to dark terracotta nude with warm undertones and a mostly matte finish. This shade applied very evenly, smoothly, and created crisp, clean edges easily. It had rich, opaque pigmentation that was very comfortable throughout wear, and it was one of the best performing shades out of the bunch. Mocha wore well for 8.5 hours before fading. In comparison, ColourPop's Frickin' Frack was similar. Kat Von D's Lolita was lighter, muted, and more mauve. MAC's Whirl was lighter, warmer, and more brown. And Nude Stick's Purity was lighter, cooler, and more rose. New Orleans is a medium to dark purple magenta with cool undertones and a satin matte finish. I found the formula of this particular shade to be thinner, which caused it to apply somewhat unevenly and appear darker in areas. This is one of the colors that really applies to that shake before use, because shaking the color really helps it apply a lot more evenly. Also, applying it with a lip brush or pairing it over top of a lip pencil will help with a more even looking coverage. Regardless, it did have nice pigmentation, and it was comfortable throughout wear. New Orleans lasted 7.5 hours before fading. In comparison, ColourPop's Plastics was lighter, warmer, and more fuchsia. ColourPop's Panda was warmer and more pink. And MAC's Instigator was warmer, more muted, and burgundy. Purple Rain is a medium to dark purple with cool undertones and a metallic finish. This particular shade, due to that metallic finish, caused it to have much more slip on the lips than any of the other shades, which made it skip and apply more sheer in some areas. It really didn't like to layer over itself, if that makes any sense. It's certainly a color that would look and perform much better paired over top of a lip pencil or a lipstick, just for a more opaque, even coverage. Purple Rain lasted 6.5 hours before fading. In comparison, MAC's She Rebel was less opaque and glossy. The Sephora collection She's Got the Power was darker, more purple, and less metallic. Kat Von D's Poe was darker, more blue, and less metallic. And the Sephora collection Polished Purple was darker, warmer, and more purple. Santana is a medium to dark muted strawberry red with warm undertones and a mostly matte finish. It is also the shade I currently have on today. This shade applied smoothly, evenly, and had great opaque color payoff. It created clean, crisp edges easily and didn't feather or feel drying over time. Santana wore well for 8.5 hours and left behind a faint stain. In comparison, ColourPop's Scrooge was cooler and more pink. MAC's D for Danger was brighter, cooler, and more red. Marc Jacobs' Je T'aime was brighter, warmer, and more coral. And Tarte's Bikini was brighter and more pink. So Paulo is a light to medium peach beige with warm undertones and a mostly matte finish. Despite being a lighter nature, I had very minor issues with the color falling into lip lines over time, and it had nice opaque pigmentation that applied evenly and had great coverage overall. So Paulo lasted 7.5 hours before fading. In comparison, ColourPop's Choker was similar. ColourPop's Magic Wand was darker and warmer. Nude Stick's Whisper was similar and less beige, and Stila's Caramello was muted and more gray. Staten Island is a light to medium taupe with hints of gray, cool undertones, and a mostly matte finish. This is definitely a more unique nude type of shade since it does have those stronger gray undertones to it. The color applied very smoothly and evenly. It had great color coverage, and it didn't fall into lip lines or feel drying during wear. Staten Island wore well for 8 hours before fading. In comparison, ColourPop's Kapow was darker, warmer, and more brown toned. ColourPop's Trap was warmer, more mauve and matte. Kat Von D's Bow and Arrow was warmer and much more brown. And MAC's Stone was darker, warmer, and more brown. Saint Tropez is a light to medium bubblegum pink with cool undertones and a mostly matte finish. This shade applied evenly, had smooth coverage, and excellent opaque pigmentation. Once again, even though it is a lighter nature, I didn't have any issues with it falling into lip lines. It also didn't bleed or feather, and it never felt drying. Saint Tropez wore well for 8 hours before fading. In comparison, MAC's Goodbye Kiss was darker and more purple toned. Clinique's Fab Pop was similar but lighter. And Kat Von D's Lovesick was similar but more matte. So overall, these are actually really great liquid lipsticks. The formula is non-drying, they're comfortable, longer lasting, and they have exceptionally great pigmentation. They are quite similar to the ColourPop Ultra Satin lipsticks, but I found that these OFRA ones do dry down more, at least in my experience. Another great thing about these liquid lipsticks is that they do contain more product compared to other brands, especially in this price point. They also come in a very wide variety of more neutral to bold to very out-of-the-box unique shades. There really is going to be something for everyone. As most of you know, I have quickly become a huge fan of these more satin matte type liquid lipsticks that don't completely dry down to an ultra matte and cling to lips. So of course, with that said, I do highly recommend checking these ones out. And if you do happen to be interested in checking these out, OFRA was gracious enough to give you guys a 30% off coupon code to use on their website. All you need to do is use the code MODERN at checkout and you'll save yourself 30% off anything on their website. So thank you OFRA for that one because saving money is always great. Can't really argue about that. Also, if you do the math, since these are pretty much $20 lipsticks, if you take 30% off that, they make these a comparable price to the Sephora cream lip stains, which those happen to be my favorite liquid lipsticks, so a competitive price like that makes it very tempting. As always, be sure to let me know in the comments below if you have tried these before, if you are planning on it, or just in general what your favorite type of liquid lipstick formula is. Do you like the kind that dry to a more satin matte, or do you like the ultra matte finishes, or do you like the ones that just dry matte? As always, also don't forget to check out my blog for more details, photos, and swatches, as well as like, comment, and subscribe to show your support. If you'd like to give me a follow, I will have all of my social media listed here, as well as down in the description. As I always say, I hope you found this review helpful and hope that you're having a fantastic day, and thank you so much for watching.